Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Week 2 of the CEA Fall 2020 Starcraft 2 season. Bringing you another exciting match this week between the Red Hatlings and MSFT-A. Game will be starting shortly. I'm your host, Eagle Searcher. I am joined by the rest of our stream team with SCTuesdays, our caster Big Toe, and observer Damn Glam. Say hi, guys.
All right. Hey, everybody.
Say howdy.
Looks like we got a pretty exciting match lined up for today. Taking a look at our maps for today. The graphic, don't let that fool you. Map 1 hasn't been played yet. It is showing a Red Hat win, but that has been rescheduled to tomorrow. We just went ahead and advanced it so that our fancy software, brought to you by SE Casting Tool and modded by our observer Damn Glam, we'll go ahead and advance on to the next map. So our first map for today will be on Eternal Empire, Red Hat Velocitas versus Microsoft Light. PVZ. So what do you think we're going to see out of this today, Big Toe?
Yeah, both these players, and thank you for the match notes there, Eagle. Both these players are fairly evenly matched, correct? Yes, yeah, they're about 100 MMR apart. As of our last check, that is anyway. And so we're going to see a pretty high level game. You know, these are mid Diamond 2 players, and I don't know. We'll see if it matches some of the meta, which has been changing a lot. And we got mass adept builds are still happening though in PVZ.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, we saw one last week.
Oh, yeah.
And it was pretty good.
I will say, as a broadcast note, our theme for this week with our maps from the CEA, I can't say I dislike Golden Wall. For those who are unaware, CEA has a unique map format, presents a set of 5 maps as well as 5 alternates. Each team is allowed to use one map swap. Every map swap available for this week was Golden Wall.
Wow, I think that is partially to do with the fact there's only one Terran on both these lineups out of the 10 players, or not 8 players. So,
and despite that, we're not going to see Golden Wall today.
Yep.
Except for a potential ace match. We may go ahead and play the ace match. Haven't gotten confirmation on that yet. But our 3 matches, map 2, 3, and 4, will be Eternal Empire, Ice and Chrome, and Everdream. It seems like everyone's interested in playing straight up. Golden Wall has a little bit of a reputation as being a cheesy map. A lot of unique strategies. It's a fun map. I have to say, a little biased as a caster. I would love to see a lot more golden maps, see some very different StarCraft come out, but I'm still sure we're going to see some excellent games today. Everybody here appears to be mid-diamond and higher, so some very excellent StarCraft expected.
That's right. Yeah, it's gonna be good. You know, I've gotten Void Ray rushed and Golden Wall a lot of times on ladder, and try to not get bitter over it. But it's a map where those outside the box strategies can happen. So I'm bummed we're not going to see it. But regardless, as we get ready to load into game 1 of the day, we get a PVZ and on Eternal Empire, as you can see. So we'll head into player intros in a second. But what do you think is going to happen, Eagle? Anything?
I don't know yet. Again, these are higher level players. You know, it's got a little bit more of a standard reputation than as a maybe macro-oriented map, but we'll have to see what our players elect to do. But starting off in the lower left corner, wearing the blue trunks for Red Hat, we've got Velocitas. Help if I switch to the game, but just one player introduction missing. But in the upper right, wearing the red trunks for MSFT-A team, it is Light.
That's right. And it's not spelled the way you would think. So, it's that's a take on Byte. Is it maybe, we got obviously a programmer, software engineers, Microsoft. I think that's what's going on there.
Yeah, there's obviously a big software bias in a lot of our teams in the CEA. Surprise, people who work on computers all day also like to come home and play on computers all night. Or in the middle of the afternoon on a beautiful Saturday.
Basically, we don't go outside, is what he's saying. And so, but yeah, we have a probe scout to start off. Not surprising from Felicitas here, and as our observer Damglam just shows us the journey of this probe on this grand quest to discover what's going to be happening here.
Yeah, a little bit of an early scout coming out from Felicitas. Sees the first gas, sees the pool go down. Doesn't most notably, he would have clicked on that gas. He would have noticed the percent completion of that spawning pool. Nope, he's not up against anything super crazy like a 12 pool or anything too early. So it's going to give him some confidence to just go back home. His own expansion is about halfway done, and macro up and play the game that he wants to.
Yeah, PvZ is a fun matchup to watch and also a tricky one for the players because both sides have very powerful early game timing hit abilities.
And we do see the Overlord sneak his way into the perv perch up there. Gives him vision on literally everything, but nobody can see him.
That's right. It's one of the pretty much something we mention almost every time we have a Zerg in the game. But yeah, we'll see if we're going to see more of an economic focus or early aggressive strategy. Again, both players have kind of popular strategies with doing that.
Yeah, and I think Light, he seems to be favoring the eco build, getting his third hatch down very quickly. Its first 4 lings are just about to pop now. Living life very dangerously, must feel very safe. That Overlord in the natural Felicitas not seeing anything aggressive yet, so the Light's got a little bit of a window here where he's just going to try to power macro up and hope to maybe just overwhelm the Protoss.
That's right. A bit light on the units and a bit heavy on the economy, you might say. And not light on the pausing, though.
Looks like there's a minor technical difficulty. Complaining about the mouse, maybe batteries died, using a wireless mouse. Maybe a little bit of latency. These things are understandable. If you're playing a high-level Protoss game or a high-level Starcraft game like this, you want everything to be in tip-top shape. If the mouse dies, granted, I played with a guy way back in high school in the Dark Ages who would play Brood War on the touchpad of his laptop.
I'm not sure how you combine that with the pathing of Brood War. That sounds like a recipe to be very frustrated.
To be honest, I don't know if anyone could tell.
Because that's just how the game controlled.
Because that's just how bad the game controlled. Yes, certainly none of us were Korean, so probably wasn't. He was all right. I'll give him some credit for that.
Yeah. Well, we have this extended pause here to see. It gives us time to check on what's being built, and we have pretty much all the typical stuff. Overlord speed.
Yeah, Overlord speed halfway done. Ling speed you see about to be done in exactly 6.8 seconds.
That is correct. It's good that we know that. That's handy.
Not a lot of work. Not a lot of units on the board though. Getting into past 3 minutes now. Just a handful of lings on the map, and just the first few gateway units out from the Protoss. Very even in supply. You see Light starting to bank up a few minerals. He does have an Overlord floating out to where he would nominally put the 4th. Doesn't look like Felicitas is ready to move out to his 3rd yet. But that Zerg being 1 base up, that's the situation he wants to be in. Relatively even economies allows him to be a little bit less efficient. Just get those mass amount of units out that Zerg is known for, swarm strategies.
Exactly. Yeah. It looks like the players are
Game resumed.
resuming, and then maybe an accidental repause. There we go. Back to the game. And so we're going to see whether he can punish whether either player can punish the other for getting greedy with their economy or their units. And so there's of course a pretty large worker count advantage for Felicitas because he's on 2 base, right? He's not stopped building probes.
Right.
And so, but it's pretty unusual to see the Protoss with up 11 workers on a Zerg.
Especially since the Zerg already has that third. The third is finished now. You can see the creep starting to spread there at the third. I did see that Overlord scouting through. That Stalker is going to try to stop him. But on the other side, Felicitas, his sort of trademark scouting hallucinated Phoenix, a very clever trick from a lot of these Protoss. That first Phoenix coming out of Stargate can kind of be a tell. So what you've seen in the meta is a lot of these Protoss using the hallucination out of that first sentry. That first sentry is so critical, especially in these Zerg matchups where you want to keep that wall shut. And just taking advantage of that extra energy that's built up to get a lot of scouting information. Scouting is probably one of the most important things you can do in StarCraft.
That's right. And so, of course, we saw pretty much as soon as that Phoenix entered at his base, Felicitas started his robotics bay. And so that, of course, it's a decision to get really most likely splash damage going. So you can see right away, what did he do? He's getting a Colossus going, which is going to be his safest bet in case he's facing any kind of a early push.
Yeah.
So
he would have noticed the lack of a layer that prevents a lot of tech from the Zerg. Can't have a Spire yet. Can't have any Hydras. So that Colossus is just going to melt any kind of hatch tech, Lings, Roaches. And we did have the Roach Den just finish for light, and several Overlords seemingly lined up, ready to go, ready to scout. Looks like he's going to lose this one. There's 2 Stalkers in excellent position. But this other Overlord is also going to be in position to see that third coming down for Felicitas. Now, losing that Overlord did supply block him just ever slightly.
Yeah, and he's we can see he just had 18 drones in production on the Zerg side. So, not a lot of attacking units being made. In fact, none at all right now. And so, just getting his upgrades. You're gonna see what he can do with these 10 Lings here. Not gonna be able to do anything at all with that army there.
That Colossus is so good. Second one about halfway done, and Thermalat's on the way. Light going ahead and dropping a 4th. Just really believing in his macro here.
Yeah.
Isn't building
Spire.
army.
Yeah, got the Spire going down though, so that's most likely to get Corruptors.
There is a window though here. That Spire takes a while to finish. If Felicitas, if he had an idea of what Light was, he could move across the map and kill him right now.
Yeah, that's correct. His army is double the size, and all right, here we go. Pause again.
Paused.
We're just gonna have dead air to fill here, so.
Maybe. I'm gonna throw this out here, Big Toe. It's not his mouse that's giving him problem, but he actually has mice. The little rodent variety.
That would make sense.
Has to keep him fed. Maybe he has a hamster in a wheel that's actually powering his rig. Needs it to keep up in order to get his APM up.
Resumed.
But
yeah, you've got to feed the hamster, or it's going to run out of energy. So
exactly. So it looks like maybe his pet mice problem has been resolved, and we're back in the game again.
Yeah, I'm picturing a bunch of mice taped together on a hamster wheel, and you need that power that only the hamster can generate. So,
oh yeah.
But back to the game, it's interesting because both players looked like they were going to do different things than they did, in my opinion, in this game, and one of them, they go back and forth between getting economy and getting upgrades, and Felicitas had this big army advantage, and he doesn't really seem to want to kind of push that.
I would actually counter that, Big Toe. Light has been all econ all day.
Well, true.
And just finishing 1-1 for his ground units. Now moving into air, getting the 5 Corruptors coming out all of a sudden. And all of a sudden, Light has now sparked a army lead. But Velocitas has also caught up in workers. I got to give Velocitas a lot of credit. I feel like he probably saw Alpha Star and saw how many workers Alpha Star makes and took it to heart and just hasn't stopped making probes.
That's right. Yeah, he has. He really hasn't. So we'll see what these Corruptors, of course, are looking to maybe get some vision out in the map. You know, you can catch a Colossus. We've got a whole bunch of Ravagers popping, as our observer's showing us, and so Life definitely looks like he is getting ready to siege up that third.
It is quite a lot of Stalkers, though, and 6 more Stalkers being warped in with Blink. Is going to shut down this this 4th that Floss does. I don't think he got the cancel on that. Corruptors move in. They're going to start picking off Colossi. 2 Colossi down. Looks like a 3rd one's going to go.
Yeah.
Huge hit for Velocitas' army, but...
That's right, but he is not getting up that ramp, though. So the force fields, that huge concave that the Stalkers have, there was just no way to follow it up. Despite the nice play with the Corruptors, he got in that perfect position where he could hit the Colossus and have minimal surface area for the Stalkers.
He's going to do some repositioning, though. Instead of attacking up the ramp, coming around the side, going to be a whole lot harder to force field this off. He's just going to walk directly on top of the army, get that Guardian Shield up to reduce that incoming damage from all those splash units. And it looks like there are just too many Corruptors here for the Colossi to do anything, but the Stalkers are driving back the Roaches and Ravagers. Ravagers not a very beefy unit. They're able to do a lot of damage with those biles, but does sacrifice those 2 sentries. Maybe a little unnecessary.
Yeah, and he is mixing in a kind of front line of zealots here, which he really needs. You know, Stalkers just by themselves are really bad, and so we'll see what we can do. The army, the supply, and the army are all in Light's favor. So.
Yeah. And ground attack 2 finishing for both sides right now. So Light has the armor 1 upgrade. A disruptor out for Velocitas, hoping to get maybe a big shot. Is following those Roaches, pops a bunch of them. That's a pretty good shot. Going to warp in some more zealots, waiting for that Immortal to come out. That Immortal can take on this entire army by himself.
You just don't mess with Immortals. Yeah, he's getting a nice position here. I liked where he was back before. He had a lot more area to use the increased range of the Stalkers to his advantage. But he wants to control that ramp is ultimately what he wants to do, but it's very hard when you have a line of Ravagers shooting bile down on you.
Yeah, it is interesting that Light is choosing to fight on this ramp where he clearly has a disadvantage. Granted, those Ravagers can make short work of any of the force fields from the sentries, but here we have a hit squad of Roaches gonna split off. And Light, Velocitas making a tactical error, pulls most of his army and allows the Zerg to come up the ramp. A lot of biles coming down. Oh, that's heavy damage from those biles. He doesn't attempt to dodge at all.
He's being forced to split his army up. Not easy to deal with. And really well played on Light's part. There goes some few more biles. Doesn't have Storm available just yet, unfortunately, and so he really needs splash damage, and he lost the Colossus, so now he's choosing Archons, which are going to help. But
the 3 Queens have made the long journey across the map slowly and surely. Getting transfuses on this army will make them so much beefier, especially with a lot of the extra DPS coming in. You can get a couple of Templar out. Storm is finished. And those Archons are so good against this bio-centric army. That Immortal does get picked out. Good target firing by the Zerg. Desperately trying to get more and more units in to defend here. Pulling the boys. Got to defend home.
There's our GG.
But it won't be enough.
We'll go to Microsoft. Wow, that was a strange game to me. Yeah, that full on you know, Velocitas, he had, again, there was a point there in the middle of the game where his army was literally double lights, and so but he maybe didn't know this. You know, we're watching and we have vision of the whole map, so we know, but he probably didn't know how far ahead he was in army.
Yeah, I mean, that's
had he. Yeah.
It just goes back to how important that scouting is. There was a window there where the Zerg was just incredibly greedy, just deciding not to build army units and really macro up, and it paid off. The Protoss turtled up at home, and before he was able to get his third really established and really start to move out in bases, the Zerg just had an overwhelming amount of production, just so many roaches.
Yeah, if you make that decision to, you know, two players, one player goes more economic, the other player goes for an earlier army. If the longer the game goes on without a fight, it's obviously in the advantage of the player that went for the economy in the opening. So,
and as well as that first attack from the Zerg, really seeing that Colossi, I feel like maybe if Velocitas had hidden that Colossi a little bit better, and it hadn't been scouted, because when that Spire finished, he had 8 Corruptors on the go. I was able to reset that Colossus count and essentially abandon the air game entirely.
Yes, that's right. And he, you know, that was his only splash damage, and so it became really important. You know, Stalkers are good. They're meat. You know, they're shields, but like you need something that packs a punch behind them. If that, you either got to have Immortals or splash damage. And he had neither for a while.
Yeah, I mean, in a one-on-one, Stalker Roach is pretty even. Roaches are a lot cheaper.
Exactly, yeah. But then you add in the Ravagers, and it's just, yeah. Anyway, as we get into game number 2 here, we're gonna get started with our player intros in just a second.
So starting in the upper right here on Ice and Chrome, wearing the blue trunks, for Microsoft, it is the Gladiator.
And in the lower left, playing for Red Hatlings, we have Cyril.
So, Ice and Chrome, a little bit of a different map than the last one. This one has a little bit more of a macro tendency, as opposed to our previous map. What do you think we'll see here in this PvZ?
Yeah, I agree. I think it is a macro-oriented match. You know, you have your natural is pretty easy to defend based on the layout of it, and so you tend to not see as early kind of 1-2 base attacks. But again, as I said earlier, this is PvZ, and early aggression is definitely popular. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see Mass Adept. That's always fun to watch.
Certainly a possibility. Does go with the pylon block. Cyril just a hair too late, but sending the drone to the third location, apparently knew he was going to get pylon block. Felt it in the force, and just went to put down the third anyway. That probe's going to come by that pylon, probably be very confused.
Sometimes you just know. You know, you just know.
But is going to go ahead and check the third. Does know that Zerg don't like to go this long without an extra base. And just gonna hang out there.
Is that hatch built one too far to the right? Nah, never mind.
No, it's centered.
Yeah, just those couple of lings gonna chase away that probe, and of course go back to that pylon. Critical for Cyril to get that hatch up, but we do have a full wall coming up from Gladiator here.
It is an interesting. I was gonna say it's an interesting point too. You mentioned how defensible that natural is. Well, Cyril's second is not in his natural.
That is correct, and so he's gonna have a lot harder time. Protoss is definitely set up to attack the third in a better position than they would be. And so we have the Roach Warren going down.
The Roach Warren going down, but Protoss opting to go Stargate before Expand. Might try to show this Adept, scare him with that sort of mass Adept potential, and then switch into Void Rays.
Yeah, this is of course a trick build. We have no second Nexus at all. So he's denying Cyril vision to his base. Cyril does have the Overlord and the Perv Perch, but Lings cannot get in, so they can't see if there's a second Nexus unless he sacks that Overlord.
Yeah, and interestingly, hasn't started working on Overlord speed. Overlord speed really important early in the game for scouting purposes.
Yeah, so this is gonna hit pretty hard, and Cyril's gonna have to prepare for it because that Void Ray is already in production.
But what can he do to prepare for it? He has Roach Tech right now. Gonna go ahead and pull the Death Home.
He's getting a Ravager now. Not the greatest against a Void Ray, but
yeah. It turns out Void Rays are pretty good against units that don't shoot up. It might be, in fact, one of the things they're best at. And it's going to pop just in time as the Roaches walk up.
He sees it.
Cyril's got to be questioning some life choices right now.
Yeah, he's not getting through this wall here. I don't see it happening.
2 shield batteries, only has 1 Ravager to deal with this Void Ray. Void Ray overcharge is done, but so is most of Cyril's army.
Yeah. Okay.
Does manage to sneak a few Lings in, but those shield batteries are just holding tough. Just about drained of energy as Warp Gate finishes, but Cyril just coming up short. That Void Ray able to put in so much damage. 9 kills.
We have some color commentary on the stream, which is part of the fun. He's gonna tap out.
So there you go. Cyril seeing the writing on the wall. Doesn't feel like coming back. Maybe he didn't realize. Well, he should have realized that there was no second down for the Protoss, but still would have been a long, hard climb back into it.
Yeah, and that that's a tough build to fight, and very nicely played by the Gladiator. To the key thing there, the most important decision thing that he executed was not letting his opponent know he didn't have a second Nexus. And
yeah, I think that Cyril probably cut gas a little too much. Didn't get that Overlord speed in, didn't get that scouting information, and not knowing there's a Stargate there. Even though I think the Stargate was actually in the front wall, so he would have known it.
Yeah, that's why I think the larger thing is just not knowing. If you're thinking your opponent's on a 2 base with a Stargate, well, they're obviously not all in. They're not going to have, they're not going to have a Void Ray nearly as fast if they have a Nexus. And so, yeah, but we'll see. So this does put the series at match point already, with Microsoft up 2 over the Hatlings. So I'm hoping for a Hatlings victory here, at the very least, because we get more Starcraft. But
yeah,
also just
and it does come down to Captain Red Hat himself. Last week, baroque the opponent's momentum, taking a win after 2 losses. This week, we'll see if he can recreate the magic. But unfortunately, it seems that Kixantrix may be MIA at the moment.
Okay. Well, we will see. Kixantrix, yeah. So a bit about these 2 players. If it does end up being Kixantrix, we have Zip playing for the Hatlings. He's about a Diamond 2 Zerg, who you'll be familiar with from this stream. And we have playing for Microsoft, we have Kixantrix, if that's how that's said, who is a looks like a Masters 3 Terran.
Yeah, both very excellent players. Some of the better players on both the teams. Kixantrix, nominally, if he shows up, would be trying to take it home for Microsoft, while Zip trying to start the reverse sweep, get the squeak out that Red Hat win. It's worth noting, Zip 1-0 on the season in his own personal maps. Kixantrix played twice last week, split 1-1 in those maps. They will be playing on Everdream, a little bit more of a standard map. ZVT, our first ZVT of the season. I'm pretty excited for this. What about you, Big Toe?
I can never say it enough. ZVT is StarCraft at its greatest, and I never get tired of watching it. So we're gonna be in for a treat, and I would like to see a macro game, just a straight up macro game.
It does lend itself to some pretty epic viewing. Humans versus the bugs, as many bugs as all the bugs, and things exploding. Always fun times watching. I do personally. We're rooting for the Red Hat squad here. If we do get into a macro game, Terran does start to fall off towards those in-game scenarios. It can be a little tough to keep up with the Zerg. If the Zerg starts running away with their economy.
That's right. You know, Terran really is the race that, in the current meta anyway, which has been that way for a long time, so I don't know if I can say the current meta, but it's not the race where you just sit back and macro and do nothing for 10-15 minutes. You can turtle mech, which is probably the only way Terran can do it, but most often than not, you see the Terran or the aggressor in the matchup, and there's no surprise that's usually the case because it's in their advantage to do so most often. So we'll see if we get any type of two base builds, maybe a marine tank push of some kind, or who knows.
And like that, Cassantrix has made an appearance. We about ready to kick off here. ZVT match of the century, until the next match at least, on Everdream.
That's right. Yeah, match of the century. That is a fair assessment. Yep.
So we do have actually, in fact, our map stats that we can throw up on the screen here. This is one of our newer graphics, courtesy of the Starcraft casting tool, and some modifications from our observer, Damglam. Taking a look at Everdream, it looks like, according to Liquipedia, TVZ a little bit favored on the Terran side, taking about 53% of these matches in pro games. So Zip may be looking uphill a little bit in this match, but gonna summon everything he can to try to keep the series alive.
Yep. We'll see. Yeah. So, as we've always talked about every week, small MMR difference between the players, but doesn't really matter in a best of one. Probably not a whole lot. It's not that large of a difference. So we'll see. But anyway, here we go. Player introductions. Take it away, Eagle.
All right. Starting in the upper right, wearing the red chunks appropriately for Team Red Hat, it is Zip.
And in the lower left, playing for Microsoft, it is Cassantrix, Matrix, I don't know.
Let's call him Kix.
I don't know what that is. Kix, yeah, Kix. Yeah, I grew up eating Kix. It's one of the only cereals my mom approved of buying, probably because it had nothing in it.
Except sugar.
Basically just air. Sugar and air.
Sugar and air.
Yep.
Basically puffed sugar.
Yep.
But we already see some sneakiness coming out of Cassantrix. Motto of the Terrans from 2019: why build a base in your base when you can build it anywhere else?
I mean, when the Terran who has won the most GSLs, maybe that's not accurate, it might be MVP. But in recent era, Maru, of course, he just shows the way. How do you win as Terran? Like I said, you don't build a base in your base. You build your base near their base.
And seeing a very standard opening out of Zip, getting that standard timing on the hatch, on the pool, that one gas. This is going to hit very early and very hard. It can be very tough to defend for the Zergs, but we'll see. It's a build that has sort of fallen out of favor, and this Overlord on the perfect scouting path.
That is right. It looks inevitable that the Overlord's going to see the barracks if he doesn't change his path. And so that's going to be a key for Zip to know what's going on. But we should point out it's also it is a single barracks. No, it's not a single barracks.
It is a single barracks. It is a single proxied barracks. He does have another barracks at home.
Yeah.
And when that Reaper pops out, it's going to notice. Has done a lot of scouting with that SCV. 2 Reapers on the way. Reapers can be really annoying, but when the queens pop out, and they're about halfway done, they'll be able to drive these bad boys back.
Yeah, this is for anyone watching. This is not an all-in by any means. It is a way to force the opponent to make more lings than they want to and less drones than they want to, which is very important.
Ling speed a little behind though, only about a quarter of the way done. Will make it a little bit more difficult to take care of these Reapers.
Yeah, and so of course Reapers heal when they're not in combat, and so that's what you're seeing now. And they're going to come back in and see what they can do. Throw some mines down, damage the queen. Getting a queen kill would be huge. So Zip's going to do everything he can to keep that queen alive.
On the other hand, the queen, one of the better defenses against these Reapers, does lose that first queen. It's a pretty big blow for the Zerg. Really just waiting for Ling speed to finish. Once the Ling speed is done, does go ahead and have the Reaper ran right by it. Choosing to commit into the main here, though. Getting caught on creep. This would be bad. Another more and more queens popping, still making Zerglings no change in sight from our Zerg.
He does have speed finish now, though, which is a game changer for this matchup here in these units. So not a lot these Reapers can do. Once speed changes, you can pop up and down the cliffs and get cheeky with it, but it just doesn't work that long. So.
Does have the starport just about to finish though, so we'll see what the Zerg what the Terran decides to do. Is getting medevac out of it. Looks like a couple of Hellions, more and more Reapers, and that medevac is now going to pull that barracks up. Probably use it to scout. He should have seen the third going down. This third is actually going to make it very comfortable economy for Zip. 3-base Zerg versus a 1-base Terran.
Yeah. He actually I just took a quick look at his vision. He did not have confirmation of the third until now. And so yeah, he does now know it's there, and we'll see what he can do. I like Zip's position here. I really do.
It's a little tricky though, because Zip has Lings. That Baneling nest just started, and one thing, Kix, being very smart, seeing that third down, is gonna know that is money not that Zip did not spend on army units. So
that is correct. Zip is he's gonna need to put all his resources into units right away, because this is a pretty powerful attack.
Those Reapers and Hellions are gonna rip these Lings apart. There are so many Lings. Those Reapers launching themselves up onto the upper ramp there, and it's going to use that medevac. Smart. Oh, just excellent micro. We've seen such good micro out of both players. Just Kix's movement of the Reapers to avoid the surround from the Lings, as well as Zip's movement of his Lings, trying to capture everything.
Yeah, very nice, nice kind of concave Zip. He didn't just send his Lings in from one direction, as you noticed. He put him in multiple directions there. So now we have a Liberator coming in, really just trying to deny mining time, get a couple of drone kills, and maybe survive. Gets a Queen, which, is a pretty good trade, and a few drones.
I actually only got one drone there. Extremely quick reflexes from Zip to avoid the first siege up. Second siege up, just allowed it to hit the mineral line, knowing that the Queen was there.
A lot of Lings coming in. He does see a wall of Hellbats, which, are just the worst thing you can fight against Lings with Lings. So, yeah, he's not going to be able to do too much, but, he is denying mining time, which is not nothing. So
yeah, economically, the Terran falling further and further behind. 3 saturated bases now for the Zerg. That's just going to be a frightening amount of units he can produce. And Baneling speed, about 80% done. If he turns all those Lings into Banelings, Hellbats or not, we could see a lot of explosions.
That's right, and we like explosions here. We're the Michael Bay of casters. And so still going to continue to use these Reapers. Reapers fall off pretty fast as the game goes on, but they are great at scouting.
Yeah,
and so
fast moving.
continue to
Yeah, and the Liberator coming in now again. This Queen in position to shoot it down. Liberator trying to decide where... two Liberators, actually. Multi-prong attack. The Spore in perfect position. Does get the Queen again, but the Reapers are moving in and start taking out more and more workers. Loses almost all of his workers here at this base. Probably going to lose that last one as well. Nothing to deny this Liberator right now.
You know, I said Reapers falling off, and they typically do, but he is making really excellent use of these Reapers with, of course, the backing of the bad Liberator there. So, see what he can do.
And yet more and more Queens. I'd love to see a statistic for how many Queens Zip has built in this game. Creep spread starting to take over a little bit. Got his corner of the map filled out and starting to spread that purple on into the middle.
That's right. Yeah, we got the third base now going down from Cassantrix. Just starting to get SCVs on it, but you know, the game is in an interesting place. I'm not sure. Cassantrix has a lead for sure, but I wouldn't say Zip is out of this by any means.
That is a lot of Marines coming out all of a sudden, though. It looks like his tanks might be in trouble. They might not be able to make it out of the space. I'm not sure he put them. It's an interesting strategic point, you know, coverage of that third there, but they don't look like they were supposed to be there.
You're right. They cannot fit down that ramp. And of course, that is a very nice position if he's able to. I think he can fit it on the other side of that barracks and the edge, which would be a great position. But yeah, gonna have to use medevacs to carry tanks. And you know what? If only we had the Harder Swarm patch. You know what I'm talking about.
It was actually Legacy of the Void when that happened.
There you go.
For, you know, a few months there, Terrans had the greatest ability in the world, which is, of course, picking up a siege tank. Unfortunately, powers that be decided to take it away, but now Kix, moving out across the map, sees that purple stuff coming across, doesn't want any piece of it. Throws some scans down, start clearing up those tumors.
Yeah, you know, anything in ZVT, creep spread is important in all matchups, but I would say the most in ZVT.
It's an interesting reversal of fate here, I'd say. Kix taking both the worker lead and the army lead, so
that's right.
whatever Zip was doing early on, it just seemed to be confused almost. And now those two tanks, as we said before, in perfect position to defend that third, intentional or not, worked out for him.
Well, perfect position also to lay splash damage down on his own SCVs, though, as well. So, did lose 13 workers there, which is a pretty good trade for Zip.
Except it still leaves him behind Kix. What is Zip doing here? What is his plan?
You know, he's trying to get. He's got a Spire that's not even halfway done. It's not going to be a factor in this fight. But does have a nice Hydra Bane force, so if he can use the Bane effectively, here goes the fight, and everything's rolling in. About only half of Cassantrix's army was in place, so definitely being careful about stepping too far on creep, which is very, very wise.
And now putting him in a bad position to get flanked. Observe is coming in from all angles, cleaning up what was there up the Terran forces. Of course, all those Banelings also being lost.
But meanwhile, we have the outer base here going down and a shuttle into the main. So some multi-prong harassment here from Cassantrix. Going to try to target some links, maybe a queen. Not going to get a whole lot done there.
That's right. I almost wonder if Zip has been having supply block issues. Just built a whole bunch of overlords to give him some margin there. But you see that macro hatch going down? Again, I think Zip maybe just looks a little confused in this one, trying to read his opponent, trying to get an idea what best tech path to attack this with.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, losing that fourth is going to definitely slow the Zerg down and slow his ability to get to the tier 3 tech that he really wants to. We're talking about, you know, Broodlords and Ultras mainly, but also Vipers and all kinds of stuff. So we'll see a lot of tanks, and they are being shuttled down the base, you know. And he looks like he does not want to wait to bring on the next battle here. It's going to happen.
Yeah, this is a fair number of tanks. Fair to say they were probably getting trapped up there, but has a few medevacs. He's done a good job keeping them alive for the most part. And the creep continuing to spread. You can see it way across the middle of the map in the very center, but Kix sieging up now, very cautiously stepping onto the creep. Just trying to clear off a few tumors, and you see those lings coming around.
He's going to try to set up a flank and wait for that right moment, right? Hoping for an unsiege, perhaps, but just going to go ahead and go for it. Hydra's in the front, Lings and Banes in the back of him. Try to get to the Marines. Gets a decent connection, but it does not look like enough.
So much Terran here. Kix just has so much, and Zip put everything into it. It wasn't able to clean everything up. A handful of tanks surviving. And all these Marines just moving in. So much medevac support, keeping the boys alive, and doing terrible damage right now.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to come back from this. Looks like the end here, unfortunately. Got some trying to produce as many Lings and mainly Banelings as he can, of course. But these mines are just making it even worse.
Yeah, just racking up kills. Gets a good connection on the Banelings, but only after the Marines had all died. And there's the GG. Unfortunately, Red Hat falls 3-0 to MSFT-A.
That's right. Yeah. Another high-level game. I thought that was the best of the series. We had some back and forth, and an interesting game, and a game that could have been won by either player. I think it's fair to say. The graphs show that, and there's everything seems to point to that.
Yeah, and I think maybe if Zip had committed a little bit better, clearly Kix had an interesting build ready. Sort of was executing everything flawlessly, even if it looked a little weird. I'd say definitely looked comfortable. Zip sort of bouncing around, getting supply blocked a few times. Maybe he's just thrown off by the weirdness.
Yeah, it was a pretty fluid build, is the way I would say, because he wasn't all in, but then he seemed to look like he wanted to see how much his pressure was doing, and then choose to put on more pressure or stop. And he kind of made a nice balance, even a nice balanced approach to slow the Zerg, but not be all in.
Yeah, it was an interesting build too, because spent a lot of gas on those Reapers early on, and balanced it by building a lot of Hellions, which eventually turned into Hellbats. And then flipped it around, started spending all his gas on those tanks and medevacs, and building Marines to dump his minerals. So, and then you also saw, sort of once he took out all those workers at that third base, just that constant harassment, the Liberators coming in, able to catch up and pass Zip in the worker count, and once the economy was pumping, that was all she wrote.
Exactly, yeah. Just constant harassment, constant kind of picking at the edges of Zip's base, and multi-prong attacks. They both had nice kind of harassment run-bys, so to speak, of their opponent mineral lines, and but Cassandrix just applied that extra force and had the macro to back it up, and so. But this series, by the way, it may look like it is done and Microsoft has won, but that is not correct, because the game that should have been played earlier is going to be played tomorrow. So if Red Hat wins that game, then
nothing changes.
Oh right, I'm wrong. Thanks for letting me go on that, though.
But it's more Starcraft. I'm not sure yet what the plans are. We might cast it. We might pull up a replay. Who knows? But I can tell you, we will be here next Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern, whatever time that is Pacific, for Week 3 action. Red Hatlings trying to rally on the season, now down 0-2. See if they can't pull out their first win.
That's right. I was trying to create an alternate universe where the match wasn't over, but I did not succeed. And so yeah, we'll just have to. We'll come back for another game and get to watch some more Starcraft as we prepare for the following week to see what match comes next.
All right.
Damn Glam, did you want to chime in here? What did you think of today's games?
They were pretty good. They're entertaining. I think the last match probably had the most drama in there, but we'll have to see how game 1 plays out. There's still more StarCraft to be played, so really that gets taken into account what maps they win on when they're trying to do some ratings later on. So maybe we'll come back next week and cast number 1 before the other game, or maybe tomorrow. We'll find out.
That's right.
All right. Thank you for that insight, Damn Glam, our MVP observer and tech guy behind the scenes, really pulling all the stream elements together, if you catch my drift. But with that, that'll wrap us